Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CGC show. My name is Simon Powers, and this is a show brought to you by Classical Guitar Corner Academy. It's an online school for classical guitar, and a lot of the people saying hello in the chat are members of that site. Wonderful to have you all. So nice to have such a lovely community that knows one another, that greets one another. Some people are even at the point, I believe, of waking up early in the morning, having a cup of coffee ready and ready for the show to start. And I really appreciate that. So great to have you here. If anyone that's new, welcome. These are chances to learn more about classical guitar, the music we play, the instrument that we play. And often we'll bring on guests as well. And this Thursday, we're going to have Clarice Assad, who is going to be a wonderful guest. And we're actually going to have a different host. While I will be here, Nikki Todesco will be hosting that show. So she will be in the hot seat asking the questions. So that's going to be something to look forward to this Thursday at 4 p.m. We are actually at... there's 5 more shows to go in this season. I've decided that we're going to have the last show the Thursday before Kotobafest. And that's going to be, I think, on the 22nd of October. So that will be the rounding out of season 2. And we'll probably have to wait all the way through till next year in, I think, about March or April. We might have season 3. We'll see. Maybe if there's a high demand, we can do one in the winter. Well, the Northern Hemisphere winter anyway. What was I going to say? Yes, Kotobafest, for those of you who don't know, is something that we run each year. For the last 5 years, we've run this at Classical Guitar Corner, and it's gone in different formats every single year. The first year, it was a live in-person workshop in New York City for 4 weeks. The second one was online, and it was actually one of the sort of first events that started to put Classical Guitar Corner down its path for online education. That was some of the first times I got to meet very well-known members like Linda and Bruce. They were all at the first Kotobafest. And then last year we had an in-day person workshop here in New York City. It was a one-day event, and that was wonderful. There was actually a little bit of footage in the intro there. And this year we're going to do a long weekend of events online. We're going to have the guests Chris Mallett, Thomas Flippen, Nikki Tedesco, Dave Belcher, Sonia Plohel, James Erickson, and Richard Charlton. Am I forgetting anyone? Oh, and Gary Lee. And they're all going to be joining us on the weekend of the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of October. And that's going to be a really wonderful event. It's going to be free and open and accessible to all members of the CGC Academy, and we are planning this coming weekend to open up for tickets for people outside of the Academy so they can purchase a ticket to audit that weekend if they like as well. Just because I'm sure might be a few people out there who would like to join in that are not members. So that's the plan. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a big weekend. And so the last episode of the CGC show for season 2 will be the Thursday just before that. And then we can round off October with a big celebration there with Kotobafest. So it's just saying hello to some people in the chat before we dive into today's topic. Hello, Roger. Roger's wishing Nikki well. Oh, Nikki's saying she's already nervous about Thursday. She's going to be great. Greetings from Boston from Judy. Oops. Did I get Judy's comment? Where'd it go? I don't know. There it is. Yes, greetings from Boston. Linda, that's who I was mentioning before. She just heard her name. And there's Cynthia saying hello. Thanks for tuning in again, Cynthia. And I know Matt was right at the beginning, tuning in from Australia. That would be a person with a hot cup of coffee. Probably the weather be warming up there, so I hope you're getting a bit warmer. And of course, thank you for being excited and looking forward to these episodes. I really appreciate it. All right. So in today's episode, what I want to dive into was, again, a bit of another experimental show. I think it could be really fun. I ran it by Dave and Nikki this morning at our team meeting. And we've been publishing videos that I recorded at a session, 2 sessions I did last year up at Yale University, where I recorded the bulk of our graded repertoire. And through myself and Nikki and also some people helping us up at Yale University, we've edited these videos. And they'll be coming out once a week, every Saturday on the YouTube channel. And it's always interesting to see what pieces get a bit more reaction than others, what performances. And I think now we're starting to get out of grade 1, 2, and 3 repertoire. And actually there was a grade 6 piece that was featured this weekend, and Maria Luisa by Julio Sagreras, a wonderful Argentinian teacher and performer and composer. And it just seemed to garner a lot of comments and a lot of likes, which was great. It was really wonderful to receive those. I always appreciate it. And, you know, I guess one of the questions for me is why? Why did that receive feedback like that and others not? And regardless of the actual reasoning, I thought it might be a nice opportunity to take that piece, that performance, and look in at the video and try and pull apart what's going on technically that might give us some insight into what's going on musically. And I think this ties in quite nicely. Oh no. Oh, I just caught, that's really sad news. Eddie Van Halen. Yes, rest in peace, absolutely. Huh. 2020, man. Oh, well, thanks for sharing that, Gary. It's very sad. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at that piece, and I'm going to look at the video, and then we're going to go into the score. And what my plan is, if it works out, we might run out of time, is we're going to be adding in all of the musical markings that I can think of into the score. And, you know, in the last couple of weeks, we looked at musicality. Last week in particular, we looked at marking the score up, tying in expressive markings with the harmony. Now what I want to do is just look at, if we marked in every single thing that I can pinpoint that I was doing in that performance, how messy and befuddled the score is going to look, to give us a bit of a context of what actually happens in a performance of music versus what's on the score. I think there might be some nice insights to make there. But again, as I said, this is going to be a first for me in terms of this kind of project. So, lots of comments there about Mr. Eddie Van Halen. That's very sad. Okay, so let's first of all have a listen to this performance. So we can, some of you may not have heard it, which is completely understandable. So let's have a listen. All right, so there it is. And that received, I just think, a really nice reception. Now I want to do something, this will hopefully lift our spirits. This is something funny to do. I want to demonstrate something you can do on YouTube that's really quite useful. And there's, yes, you can see my cursor. So I'm going to go here over to settings. And when you click on that, you can see the quality. That's nice sometimes to turn it up to the highest quality. Sometimes you've got it set low, and that's hard to know. And autoplay, oh, that's nice to know. I might turn that off. But playback speed, that's what we're looking at. And in the context of what we're going to be doing, it's going to allow us to slow down the playing and the music and to really have some more time to understand what's going on. But if you want to have some fun, which we're going to have right now, because we all need a bit of a levity right now, I think, in the world, do this. Go and find someone that's talking like me. I'm going to throw myself under the bus here. Press play.
From the beginning, we have these straight.
And then, if you would like to add a touch of alcohol into this,
which become incredibly important,
go to 0.75
because they both provide a platform for the syncopation.
Yep, sounding a bit sleepy.
But they also
How about,
offer us
let's go later into the evening. A couple of bottles in.
Material to have an accelerando or a retardando.
Sounding a little sleepy again there, Simon. And then if you really want to, let's, this has been a bit of a bender. This is, let's say, the 2020 celebration.
In terms of the fingering here, we have a lot of different options.
Oh God, I need to laugh these days. All right, so if you want to add
and it really is
some coffee into the situation.
Interpretation to decide what.
Here we go.
So, for instance, if we used first position fingering,
bit of coffee. Now, one of those energy drinks, which I personally never touch.
There's something about the first string which is usually a little more punchy on the classical guitar, and also just that open string sound. We can't actually put any vibrato on, even if we wanted to.
And
so
let's see, I don't even know what this sounds like.
Second or a third string. If we start in first position and then come up with the
second
string,
it's getting chipmunk territory. Anyway, I thought that might just be a bit of levity for the moment. There's too much sad stuff going on in the world not to have a bit of a laugh. All right. So anyway, that function it's fun. You can do it, especially if you got yourself or a friend or someone close to you. It'd be nice to do that. But in our own situation here, we're going to be using it to slow down the performance, which is really, really very, very useful. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing when we see it slow down, so you know what's going on ahead of time. So I'm going to go back to screen share, and what I'm going to do is, again, I'm not sure how to do this today, but this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go in and we're going to start adding in as many things as we can find into the score. And we're going to see what we discover. So the point here is we're really going to try and discover what went on. All right. Let's just start with the beginning. We'll maybe listen to a little bit of the phrase and we'll go back and slow it down. All right, even that is enough. Now, what I'd like to ask, what's going on here? What I'd like to ask, if you can start identifying things, please start writing them in the chat. I want to get I obviously want you to start thinking about and paying attention, but I want to get your ideas as well. And it's obviously hard in this format to do that. But I want to get you thinking, okay, what happened there in the music? What went on? What happened that first little couple of measures? All right, so now put the playback speed at half. Let's see if we can hear something differently. Oops. Okay, so Kerry's already writing slight crescendo in the beginning. I would agree with that. What else is going on in there? Let's have one more listen. Yeah, yes, I see in a accelerando. I agree with that. Pete Bradshaw, yes. And staccato there, yes. And then yes, a vibrato as well. Yep. And then also I notice there's a little bit of a gliss that I do downwards. Tasto, yep. Here. I just let my finger stay on the string. All right, so already there is a ton of stuff to write in. I just added a few things, a couple of things already, so that I'd have things to go. Okay, so we said, oh, there's too many things on my screen. Here we go, We said crescendo, yep, set crescendo, and we just agreed and a shell. Excuse me if I have, this is gonna be kind of rough and ready, so it shouldn't be capital A. Accelerando, right? Yep. And I did, we agreed we saw a vibrato here. And I think I did a little bit of a portamento there. It's that little slide, port dot short. And then there was some articulation. Let's have a listen again because I'm starting to lose track. There's going to be so much detail here. Okay, so there definitely was, this was a bit of a, I would say this is sort of a light staccato there. And then this was a cha-cha in terms of articulation, short and a bit longer. And then also, if we're going to be micromanaging the dynamics, there's a little bit of a decrescendo here, played that A a little softer because it's the end of that first little idea. I think also I played this with my flesh of the thumb, like in the attack. Yeah, I think that's about it. All right, let's keep going and see what else we can find in the next 4 measures. So this is what we're looking at. Same scale going up. Similar idea, just a bit of a different ending. Let's see what we can hear. Okay, right at the end there, I heard that cha-cha, so that's the same articulation. I think I did another vibrato here that I carried across a little bit to the B. Same, oops, a little bit of crescendo there. And I think I did a staccato on the chords. Let's just double check that. Cha-cha-cha, I think I did. Yeah, a little light, it wasn't too heavy, and a little bit of a gliss here as well. I dragged my finger. All right, let's keep going. Listen back to that at normal tempo. I've just realized I've been sitting in this half speed this whole time. So let's listen back all of that at tempo. Okay. So definitely we ended up here. This is where we just finished right there. I feel from here, from measure 9, there was a general, same as the beginning, crescendo and accelerando, right? But that really extended out all the way to the end of the idea. So etc. That kind of went through this whole passage and then culminated cha-cha-cha-pram. And we did a little bit of a roll here, so we'll have this jagged line for that roll, and I would say that's kind of forte and maybe an accent. And then we had here, it wasn't so much that these were accented as the bass. The bass had a bit of an accent and a staccato. Jut, 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 chum. Let's just listen back now so we can focus in on that big long crescendo and maybe a bit of an accelerando. Accents, staccato, and that roll at the end. Let's pay attention to that. Right, and it's also a very, very strong cut of the strings. I mean, it's a bit too much like cut, right? And then I rested my right hand across all 6 strings there to get that stopping of the sound. That helps accentuate that last beat. And then I cut. Another thing that I noticed that I did is some of these bass notes I let ring. Now they're not, you could sort of discuss the virtues of stopping these notes as we're going along, but I let them ring open, and I think what that does is it helps build volume. It helps this crescendo and accelerando. I did, if you will have a look back again, notice my thumb as I'm going from open strings D to open string E, etc. I'm actually stopping some of those basses. It keeps the harmony nice and clear. Have a look at my thumb. We'll have a better view in the second variation. Oh, sorry, the repeat. But have a look at my thumb as I do that crescendo. You know what? I'm going to slow it down again. Watch the thumb. So they're going long. I stopped it. Stop again. I stopped at that time by turning my wrist to the side. So the D string, the 4th string, I stopped by actually putting my thumb back on the string. And then the 6th string, I actually stopped by turning my whole hand and resting it on the side. Have a look again. D, here comes the stop after this one. Watch my thumb. Stop. Watch my hand collapse. And then I put my whole hand there on the side. I lost track of what else. D, da, 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 da. I think I did some articulation there. I may have done some vibrato as well. All right. Now we're going to look at. Does this go? Let's have a look. Oh no. Okay. All right, so it's not off. Right, great. We're going to keep going now, and the nice thing is that we're going to see a bit of what's going on in the right hand because the camera angle changes. So let's have a listen to the next whole phrase, and then I will slow it down and we'll go bit by bit. Now, please go ahead again and write in the comments some things that you notice as we go into this second, well, it's not a second section, sorry, it's just a kind of a repeat of this material. All right. All right, let's have a listen to that again in slow motion. Let's go. I'm going to go really slow this time. Let's go to 0.25. Let's see what happens. Oof. All right, here we go. Hey, brownie points for alternation. That's kind of amazing. Just the sound, the weird sound. But isn't it great to see the detail? All right, so let me have a look through the comments and see what some people say. Matt said it's sleepy. Absolutely, it is sleepy. And Brooke said it's like a underwater dream sequence. Yes. All right, let's see if we had some identified things that we could see. More pronounced gliss from the F to A at the start of the section. Yep. Yep. Someone said thought they saw a rest stroke in there. Absolutely. And we'll point that out. Okay, Chad's saying it's too slow and gets too distorted. All right. Everyone's commenting on how terrible it sounds. So like, yes, accented tasto note at the start of the first run. Yeah, almost like a top stroke, exactly. Shifting right hand to get a change to the tone. Yes. Yep, Michael saw that rest stroke as well. Carrie's pointing out a gliss. Accelerando. Starting first position rather than fifth. And then someone's asking my fingering. But okay, so yeah, I mean, let me just sort of walk through a couple of these. Is this still at the slow tempo? Right, so here, this is interesting because, yes, it's, I think Craig was pointing out, it's like a top stroke. So I notice I actually really collapse my wrist and I bring my hand up to tasto position. I'm really trying to feature that top E to make it very singing and sort of beautiful and make it stand out. And so that's why I've moved my whole hand there. Have a look one more time. I'll speed it up a little bit. Maybe it's too slow. There we go. So I make that note special with my right hand positioning and the way I stroke the string with that rest stroke and the tonal placement near the fingerboard. And also I'm adding vibrato. Here's a little thing. I mean, I don't even know how to mark this on a score, but watch my right hand position change so I get a little bit of a different sound on the cha in the right hand on the second and third string compared to the melody note. I move here, right? So I'm moving just to get a little bit of a different sound on those accompaniment notes because it's like a different band instrument. Okay, so let's have a look. Similar stuff going on here. I think, again, crescendo and accelerando a little bit. So the speed's going that way. Then we've got here, we've got that vibrato, and there's also a rest stroke, right? Rest stroke there, or even a top stroke if you want to call it that. And then here, cha. And then it's like we can say it's not really pont. We'll say slightly pont, but because I don't have too much time, I'm just going to write a little bit of pont in there. Again, we've got that gliss, bit of decrescendo there. Got the slight ponticello there. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. I'll just have a quick look. Watch my right hand thumb here. Look at where the point of contact is. Is it on the nail? Or is it on the side of the thumb? Very much on the flesh. See that the point of contact there's almost not the middle of the thumb, but it's definitely starting on the flesh. That's going to give that kind of warm sound to the bass there, not too much attack or cut. Actually, that was a great freeze frame. Look at that, perfect freeze frame. So it's actually, I'm pressing in a little bit. You can see it's getting a little bit of tension, and it might touch the nail, I don't know, but it's on very much flesh tone. Portamento there. A little bit of vibrato. More vibrato, getting louder. All right, so very much, I want to come back to me for a second because I get afraid I sometimes spend too much time on the screens. I want to just go through some comments and hear and maybe any questions, and then I'm going to dive into the second section, which has a lot of different right-hand movements. So yeah, I do talk. Someone must have asked about the top stroke. I did talk about it in season 1. I think 7 right-hand techniques. That will be the video to go and look up. It's still up on YouTube, and it is a different, slightly different approach to going across the string. It's a term, top stroke, that Julian Bream imparted onto Fred Hand, who then imparted onto me. Yeah, and Kerry's finding that there's a couple of examples of you let the beat 2 of measure 22 ring the full quarter note this time and did not make it staccato. So there's a couple of different articulation choices coming in there. Now, I want to say at this point that one question that might be open is that are you deciding all of this? Am I expected to make all these tiny micro decisions in a piece of music? Absolutely not. Just as if you had a message to deliver, a speech to give, a monologue to perform in any given situation, from night to night, day to day, every situation, it would vary slightly. You'd obviously have worked on it and planned out some things, but then in the moment, you want to have excuse me, enough technical control and musical creativity and freedom to allow it to be a little different here and there. So that's those small little variations that you find coming up. And they're not pre-planned. They are most likely experimented with, however, in the performance process. So in any given phrase, when you're practicing it, yes, there might be some practice to memorize, some practice to solve technical problems, but there's also play, and play as in the creative side of your work on the instrument, where you get to mess around with things. And that's why I'm constantly encouraging people to take things too far. More crescendo, more accent, more vibrato, because it's very rarely that people do too much. But I love people to get to the point where they do too much all the time, because it's much, much easier to rein in your musical expression than to add it once you've got the mechanical movements built into your hands, once they become habitual. So I think having that experimental phrase where you play around, you listen to recordings for inspiration, you can push things to limits, you can make them ultra quiet, you make them boomingly loud. All of those things will give you the freedom to then incorporate it into the piece as you feel it in the moment. I mean, in a quiet concert hall, you might play it one way. In front of some friends, late at night, around a campfire, maybe you play it a different way. And they're all valid, but you need to have gone through the process of play, the creative process of play, to then have that flexibility in performance. And that's, yeah, Matt asked that exact question. The question of how conscious these choices are. I think some of them are very conscious in that, like when I teach this piece, I talk about articulation on the voices on the second and third string. Cha, cha, that's very conscious. That was practiced. I talk about an accelerando and a crescendo through that first run. I very much have practiced the fingering of that run. I am, a. And then, so all of those things are very considered and practiced, but then on top of that, we need to have that extra flexibility. Okay, so if there's no other questions, then let's have a look. Let's keep going. This is going to be the second section of the piece. This is a section that often is challenging for people. All right, too many things going on. Go back to screen share. Here we go. Let's have a listen at normal tempo first, shall we? All right, I'm back. All right, so, oh, and then, well, let's have a listen to the repeat. So you can already see there's a lot of contact that I have with the strings. I'm really controlling a lot of that articulation, right? Now I do want to show you what this looks like in the score. Here we go. This is the second page, and the second section starts here. Let's zoom in a little bit. And what's tricky about this section is, first of all, the melody. I'm a terrible singer. Is really in the middle of the texture, right? And then it leaps to the top. It's sort of shared between the middle and then upper voice. So that's a challenge. And you'll notice to bring that out, that especially that very first G, because this is tricky. We've got a note on the 5th string and a note on the 4th string. And you'll notice that I split the notes. I don't play them exactly at the same time. Intentionally, I play the 5th string softer, and then I'll play that 4th string with a lot more force with the thumb. So let's have a look at that closely. Okay. Let me just slow it down. Okay. If you can write in the comment what you're noticing here, what kind of things you see. Lot of controlling of the resonance there, especially going chut chut there at the end. One thing I think to note is that I'm not only the melody here is, I think, a little challenging to bring out because it's a bit of an odd melody to start off with, and I'm splitting a lot of notes. I often talk about making sure we don't split too many notes, but I already mentioned that I do it in the bass here, but also watch when I get to that G on the 1st string, I play the D string slightly early and soft, and then the G I play a little louder. That's so that we can bring that out. Actually, that time I didn't do it. Let's have a listen now. Actually, so it wasn't too split. Actually, maybe I heard it differently, but definitely I don't know how to mark that in, but sort of a split note there. Split with the thumb again, and then potentially split here as well. And this bottom note here is, let's say it's piano, and then we're trying to play this note forte along there. And then so it's a exercise in balance here, really. Matt's saying he's a chronic over splitter. Now I think I'm playing this line here up on the 4th string, and I do a little bit of articulation. The reason I think I do that is sometimes when we do articulation, it helps bring the listener's ear to that line. So if we just played da, 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 dee, da, da, then it's fine, but it's a little more engaging if we hear ya, da, yum, bop, bop. It gives a little more, it makes it stand out a bit more interesting. So you can put some articulation on there. And of course, we're trying to also balance these notes out. These are, again, still a bit softer, and these middle notes will be forte. You also may know notice I'm also turning my wrist a little bit to get a bit almost kind of like a rest stroke on those notes. So let's just go back. I need to remind myself now. Getting lost in the details. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, so there's two sort of unusual right hand movements there. I do here, you may have noticed I sort of do that, I will call it that top stroke here. I collapse my wrist a little bit, reach out with my M finger. And really that's just, I'm just making that note a little special. There's no sort of technical reason for that. Just making sure. And also, I often talk with students about how we need to take care, especially open first strings. This is an open string here. And so by, collapsing the wrist and giving it a rest stroke, you're giving yourself the best odds at getting a nice note. Let's have a listen to that again. Here it comes. Ooh, see, that's a really nice warm tone. Very easy for that E to be bright and kind of sharp. And then here, I managed to execute that rest by, again, collapsing my wrist so that we get a cut of all the resonance. And I do a bit of a rest stroke on there. Let's have a look at that little moment. So I also do, let's say, a rit there. I slow down. That's a rest stroke. And then I do a decrescendo over those. A little bit. Very, very much in control. Here, as I think people... Is this where I change tone? I think... So that's a really pronounced yadi. It's almost accented. Yadi dum. Right. So there's again some articulation, especially jump, jump, jump. And it's a good example there, I think, of staccato, how it doesn't always have to be super tight. It's kind of, there's da, 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 or there's pom, 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 a bit more rounded, a bit more breathing space, but they're definitely not quarter notes. I think that maybe I was sort of playing them as, eighth notes, I'll say pom, pom, pom. You can see my right hand going back down to them. Now, as I come back for the repeat, a lot of people pointed out that I'll go back very, very tasto here. Watch my thumb's already there. Watch the movement of my thumb from here to where it then plays the repeat. Now, when I ask ask people to play tasto, like I'm all the way over the 15th fret there. I'm way over the fingerboards. That's a good example of not just doing a little, like really committing to that sound world. Different articulation there. And it's funny, I think I must have used a different fingering. It's hard to see in the right hand, but that open E we just talked about, I think I sweep my A finger on the first string after the slurs. Or it might be the M finger. It's hard. It's impossible to self-angle. Same. Lots of gliss on that one. There's an interesting one there. On that second one, I went yada. This one here, right? So yada, and there's decrescendo. But how I achieve that is through the mechanics of a rest stroke here, and then a free stroke here, and just by the nature of those strokes, without even having to force, anything, you're going to get a louder note on the rest stroke and probably a bit of a softer note on the free stroke. So that's just going to work to your advantage. Lots of staccato control there. Okay, so let's before we listen back to the last part, I just want to play it back at normal tempo. Let's hear that all in context now. Now, I'm going to once again throw myself under the bus. Nikki will be testify to the fact that when I am going over these videos, I'm like, please don't have any repeated fingers, because it seems to cause so many questions and concerns in the membership. It's like, you chose to repeat a finger here, and why? And I talked about this in a couple episodes ago, and part of the reason is I'm only human and definitely not perfect. And I think I repeat a finger here. And you would have seen before I go, I am A. But here I do believe I repeat an M finger. So there it is. That's what it's going to be. Let's have a listen. No! It's true. Oh well. So that ending sort of has a little bit of resignation to it, a little less energy than definitely the first couple of times. Let's have a listen at tempo. A bit more rolled chords there. Different type of execution there, a little tighter, a little louder, tight vibrato. Now, for me personally, if I'm looking back at this, the only thing I'm not crazy about is the ending. That last chord just feels a little odd. If I were to, let's have a look at what it says on the score. If I were to, oh, where is it? Maybe it's on the second page up the top here. Okay. There it is. It is just one beat, but I don't know. It just feels kind of odd. I just am not convinced by the way that was shaped. So, you know, whenever any of us listen back to anything, I think there's always a little bit of, oh, I would have done that a bit differently. So we sort of went in, you can start to see that it's there's a lot going on if we start to get into the micro details. And now that a number of you have learned this tool that we have access to on YouTube to slow down the videos without losing the pitch, it's incredibly useful, especially if we've got some high quality videos by excellent players. We can really get into the weeds of the movements. And I think it'd be very enlightening to see what's going on. Gives us, you actually might want to do it in your own playing. You know, it might be eye and ear opening to see what's going on in your own hand. Maybe there's a lot of movement, maybe there's not much movement at all. You know, it just would be interesting to see what's going on. It is really could be very helpful. So if there's any last questions, now would be the time to ask them. Sorry. Chuck says he forgives me for repeating my finger. Thank you. And although not a member of CGC, I follow and enjoy your work for some years now. Take care, and thank you for this quality and lovely work. Good night from Crete. Hey, thank you very much. I was lucky enough to visit Crete with Evita a couple of years ago. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I didn't realize that there's quite a historical connection with Australia. So it was we felt very warmly received. Beautiful place though, amazing. Okay. So thanks, Carrie. Glad you enjoyed it. Not a playing thing, but having the third of the 5 chord before the final A minor seems less final in some ways. The third of the 5 chord. Right. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. There's sort of a B in the melody, maybe. Yeah, it's a little less bump, bump. Yeah, maybe if that piece had another bass E just before, like 5-1, that would reinforce it. But because of the way it's written, it's a repeat of the first section, so it's not all written out again. But you could argue, it's a good point, Randy, and maybe it's an idea that you could actually, in performance, add in a bass E on that very last repetition to go bomb, bomb, just to add a bit more oomph to the ending. That's a good idea. I might use that. Thank you for it. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Chad's saying to have that YouTube function, you need to have an account, but accounts, as far as I understand, are free, and I think a lot of people at CGC have them because we share videos. But oh, good. I'm glad, Matt. I'm glad that's... Oh, you're very welcome, Donna. I missed you on Saturday at the coaching call. Yeah, so this is a great question. David asked, what do you think about playing the first phrase without open strings? So let's see. First of all, in general, I think offering some variety with fingering is a great idea. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm all stiff. Let's see. Excuse me, might not be. Okay. So, well, I'm not sure what open strings you mean, if it's the bass or, but let's just change everything up, right? Could be campanello. Could do a slow. And then, oops, no, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry. Oh, I'm on the right page, wrong bar. That has to be open, obviously. Could do, yeah, in the barre, or good. Yes, and basically the answer is yes. You could change the sonority of a piece by making some things not using open strings, and I think that it's a great way to offer variety. So, oh, great, Stephen. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, it is amazing. It's and again, to reiterate, these are not all predetermined minutia. It's interesting for me sometimes as well to be like, oh yeah, we learn a lot if we edit our own videos. We go, oh, I did that, or oh, I did that. Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, I just sorry. So that. Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks for coming again. Yeah, Ron asked about if there's the same. We use Vimeo. I don't think there's a speed control in Vimeo, unfortunately. It's a better player in many ways than using YouTube, but I don't think so. But having said that, a lot of the repertoire for the grade system inside CGC, the performances are on YouTube now, and they're getting published each week. So there should be a good selection where you can go back and change the speed just on the videos on YouTube. Great. All right, everyone. So this Thursday at 4, Clarice Assad will be our guest. I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say, and also looking forward to Nikki, what questions she has, because she'll be the host. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you inside the Academy, and take care. All right. Bye-bye.